Riley thought everyone in the house was asleep. The hallway was dark. Her sneakers barely made a sound on the floorboards. But what she didn't know was that her mom, Kandi, had been watching the whole time. And what Kandi discovered that night changed everything between them forever. The soft hum of the air conditioner in Riley's room was the only sound in the quiet house. Outside, the night air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and the occasional chirp of a restless cricket. But inside the Burris home, everything was supposed to be at peace. Kandi, having wrapped up a long day of meetings and family duties, had finally drifted off to sleep just after midnight. Her phone rested on the nightstand, face down, and her breathing had settled into the slow rhythm of someone too exhausted to dream. Down the hall, the digital clock in Riley's room glowed 12:42 a.m. in pale red numbers. She lay wide-eyed in bed, fully dressed under her blankets, heart pounding so loud she feared it might wake the whole house. Riley wasn't the kind of girl who broke rules. She knew her mom had a million things to worry about, and she didn't like adding to the list. But tonight was different. It wasn't just some random gathering. It was the party, hosted by one of the coolest seniors from the private school across town. The one all the older kids talked about, the one where influencers sometimes showed up unannounced, and everyone wore black. Her friend Jasmine had sent her a snap earlier that night. Strobe lights, loud music, and at least 3 TikTok famous faces already on the dance floor. Riley stared at the image for a full 10 minutes before making up her mind. She sat up slowly, careful not to make the mattress creak. Her fingers trembled as she texted Jasmine, "On my way." Then she reached under her bed, pulled out the black hoodie and leggings she'd stashed earlier, and tiptoed to her door. She cracked it open a tiny bit, listening. No footsteps. No voices. The coast was clear. She stepped out, closed the door behind her gently, and began creeping down the hallway like a shadow with sneakers. Kandi stirred lightly in her sleep. Something in the air felt off, though she couldn't name it. A mother's instinct is stronger than reason, and even in her unconscious state, something tugged at her. But sleep won, for now. Riley had practiced this moment in her head a dozen times. She'd noticed that the motion lights outside took a full 5 seconds to click on. That meant she had to move quickly across the driveway and duck behind the hedges before the light fully blinked on. She had left the side gate unlocked during the day, just like Jasmine had suggested. Everything was going according to plan. She made it out, heart pounding, breath caught in her throat, but safe. Her Uber was already waiting around the block. Meanwhile, in the quiet house, Kandi turned in bed. She reached for her water, took a sip, and turned her phone over. No new notifications. Just as she set it back down, she paused. Something made her glance at the open hallway. A faint creak. A distant rustle. Her gut twisted. She got out of bed and walked toward Riley's room. The door was closed as usual, but something was off. She knocked lightly. No answer. She opened it slowly. The room was too neat, the bed too smooth. The blanket bulge was wrong. It was just pillows. And the window was cracked. Kandi's stomach dropped like a stone. She rushed over, pulled back the blanket, and confirmed what her heart already knew. Riley was gone. Panic gripped her chest. Kandi looked around the room and saw Riley's phone charger, still plugged in empty. No phone. Her laptop sat closed on the desk, untouched. A black hoodie was missing from the closet. She grabbed her own phone and tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Kandi felt heat rise in her face, fear, anger, and disbelief crashing all at once. Where could she have gone? And what? Riley, meanwhile, arrived at the party, stepping out of the Uber with shaky confidence. The thumping music made her bones vibrate, and the glow from inside the house lit up the front lawn like it was noon. She had never seen so many teenagers in one place. Loud laughter, red cups, smoke in the air, everything she'd only seen in movies. Jasmine waved her over, already half dancing. "Girl, you made it!" Jasmine shouted over the music, pulling her into a side hug. Riley forced a smile and nodded, trying not to look like she was overwhelmed. She followed Jasmine into the house, where kids packed shoulder to shoulder, bodies moving, drinks spilling, and phones recording everything. She felt like she'd stepped into a different universe. At first, she stood on the edge, clutching her bag, unsure of what to do with her hands. But then Jasmine handed her a soda and pulled her into the crowd. Back home, Kandi wasn't sitting still. She was pacing, calling Riley's friends, texting the parents she knew, checking Instagram stories and Snap Maps, anything to find a clue. She even drove around the neighborhood once, hoping to spot Riley walking. Nothing. Her daughter had vanished into the night, and Kandi's mind spun with worst-case scenarios. Every horror story, every scary article, every piece of advice from other moms flooded her memory. She had to find her. And then, one of Riley's friends finally responded. "Check Jasmine's stories," the girl texted. "I think they're at that party in Buckhead." Kandi opened Jasmine's public Instagram. Her heart dropped. The video showed flashing lights, dancing bodies, and for a split second, just half a second, Riley in the background laughing. Kandi didn't even think. She grabbed her keys and left the house. Back at the party, Riley was starting to relax. The music was good, the energy was electric, and nobody was judging her. She didn't feel like Kandi's daughter here. She was just Riley. She took a few silly selfies with Jasmine, danced a little, and laughed harder than she had in weeks. For once, she felt like she belonged. But what she didn't know was that her mom was speeding down the highway with a storm in her heart, and she was almost there. Riley sat at the dining table that night, trying to act like everything was normal. Kandi served dinner while chatting about her upcoming events, but Riley's mind was spinning. She had gotten a strange message from an unknown Instagram account earlier. It simply read, "Nice poetry, Riley. Bet your mom doesn't know about page 43. Her hands shook. Page 43? That's where she wrote about sneaking out to meet someone Kandi would never approve of. She had never felt such a sharp twist in her stomach. Who had her diary? And why were they threatening her now? Her thoughts raced, but she couldn't show it. She nodded and smiled and even managed to laugh when Kandi made a joke, but inside she was falling apart. After dinner, she rushed to her room and tore apart her backpack. The diary still wasn't there. She tried calling her best friend, Zaria, again, no answer. Her messages weren't even delivered. Something was definitely wrong. At school the next morning, it was clear something had changed. A group of students laughed as Riley passed by. Others whispered and pulled out their phones. On the back wall of the girls' bathroom, someone had taped printed out pages. It was her handwriting. It was her diary. She ripped them down, heart pounding. Her secrets, everything, were now out there. She ran into the hallway and found Zaria near her locker. "What's going on?" Riley asked, nearly breathless. Zaria looked shocked, like she was about to cry. "I swear I didn't do it," she whispered. "I left your diary on my desk when I went to the bathroom. When I came back, it was gone." Riley stared at her. She wanted to believe her best friend, but how could she? Later that day, Kandi got a call from the school counselor. "There's been an incident," they said. Kandi's heart dropped as she listened to the counselor explain how Riley's personal writings were being spread around school and causing emotional distress. Kandi rushed to the school, confused and concerned. When she saw Riley in the counselor's office, red-eyed, shaken, silent, Kandi's heart cracked open. She wrapped her arms around her daughter, and Riley finally broke down in her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Mom, they know everything. Someone has my diary, and they're posting it online." Kandi's face turned pale. She knew Riley was private, sensitive, creative. But this was an invasion. Humiliation. And as Kandi comforted her daughter, she made a quiet vow in her heart. Whoever did this was going to regret it. But neither of them knew the worst page hadn't be. The ride home from the school counselor's office was quiet. Kandi kept glancing at Riley in the passenger seat, her eyes still swollen, her arms crossed tight, her body curled into the door like she wanted to disappear. Kandi's hands gripped the wheel harder than she realized. She was angry, but not at Riley. At whoever did this. As soon as they got home, Kandi locked the front door and sat Riley on the couch. She brought her a glass of water, sat across from her, and said gently, "Talk to me. Everything. Please." Riley looked down at the water in her hands, her voice cracking as she whispered, "I write everything in that diary, Mom. My thoughts, my feelings, things I don't say out loud. It's where I feel safe." Tears welled up again in her eyes. "I left it at Zaria's house. She was reading some of the poems, and I think she thought it was sweet. I didn't think anything of it, but the next morning she said it was missing." Kandi took a deep breath. "And now, do people at school have it?" Riley nodded slowly. "It started with one page in the bathroom. Then screenshots started showing up in group chats. They're calling me names. They're mocking me for the things I wrote. Even the private parts, Mom." Kandi's jaw clenched. "What private parts?" Riley hesitated, then confessed, "Page 43. I wrote about sneaking out to meet Marcus once. I didn't do anything bad. We just talked. I liked him. But people are twisting it now. They're saying I'm easy, that I throw myself at boys. There are even memes, Mom." Her voice broke. Kandi walked over and pulled Riley into her arms. I don't care what anyone says. That book was private. No one had the right to touch it, much less post it. Riley whispered, I don't want to go back to school. Kandi kissed her forehead. You don't have to, not until we sort this out. That night, Kandi barely slept. She stayed up reading the comments under a few leaked screenshots on social media. It made her sick. Anonymous accounts were tagging Riley in jokes, reposting her poetry like it was comedy, and laughing at her vulnerability. One post had over 600 likes. Some were from students Riley had known for years. But one comment stood out, because it wasn't from a stranger. It was from someone Kandi recognized. At Tasha Princess, page 43 got me screaming skull Riley wild for that. Tasha, Zaria's older cousin. A senior who had a reputation for stirring up drama at school. Kandi's instincts flared. She screenshotted everything. The next morning, Riley stayed in her room. Kandi drove straight to Zaria's house. She didn't bother calling first. When Zaria's mom opened the door, Kandi kept her tone respectful but firm. Is Zaria home? And is Tasha here too? Both girls were called downstairs, looking nervous. Zaria avoided Kandi's eyes. Tasha just stood with folded arms, chewing gum like she didn't care. I'm not here to play games, Kandi said, locking eyes with Tasha. Riley's private diary is being spread around your school. And your name is all over it. Tasha rolled her eyes. I didn't post anything. You sure? Kandi held up her phone, showing the screenshot. Tasha froze. Zaria stepped forward, her voice trembling. I swear, Aunt Kandi. I didn't know she took the diary. I just left it in my room. I thought Riley had it when she left. Kandi turned to Tasha. You took it, didn't you? You thought it was funny. You read it and then what? Decided it was your new comedy sketch? Tasha shrugged. It was just a joke. People are too sensitive these days. A joke? Kandi's voice shook. You turned a child's private thoughts into public humiliation. Do you even understand what you've done? Zaria's mom was frozen, clearly shocked by the revelation. I'll tell you what happens next, Kandi said. If those posts don't disappear in the next hour, I'm filing a police report for harassment, privacy violation, and cyberbullying. And trust me, I'll make sure the school knows every detail. Tasha's smirk dropped. Fine. I'll delete it. You'll apologize too, Kandi said coldly. To Riley. In person. Back at home, Riley sat curled up in bed with her headphones on. She hadn't eaten. She hadn't spoken since last night. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of public shame had shrunk her soul. When Kandi returned and told her what happened, how Tasha had stolen it, how she was being forced to apologize, Riley didn't smile. She just nodded. Quietly. I know it won't fix everything, Kandi whispered, brushing Riley's hair behind her ear. But I'll do everything in my power to protect you. We'll get through this, okay? Riley whispered, I'm scared they'll never forget. That I'll always be the girl with the diary. You're so much more than that, Kandi said. You're brave. You're creative. You're a writer. And maybe, this pain will become your power. But deep down, even Kandi knew, this wasn't over. Rumors had a way of spreading far beyond one school hallway. And Riley's story was just beginning. Riley sat in her room staring at the glowing screen of her phone, unable to stop the tears from falling. The comments under the viral photo hadn't slowed down. If anything, they had gotten worse overnight. She had barely slept, and her mind was racing with 1,000 worries. The words were burned into her brain: spoiled, troublemaker, bad example, and worse. And the thing that hurt the most wasn't just the lies people were spreading. It was the silence from her mom. Kandi hadn't said much since they got home the night before. No long talk, no checking in, just a closed door and cold distance. Riley knew that silence wasn't peace. It was a storm waiting to hit. She walked downstairs slowly, hoping maybe her mom would say something. But Kandi wasn't there. Instead, her Aunt Bertha was in the kitchen cooking quietly. Morning, baby, she said gently, sensing Riley's sadness. You okay? Riley nodded, even though she wasn't. She didn't have the words to explain the pain or the confusion. Her whole world felt like it had turned upside down over one photo. And even though she hadn't done anything wrong, she still felt ashamed. At school, things were even worse. The whispers in the hallway started before she even reached her locker. There she is, someone whispered. That's her, the girl from the video. Riley's stomach twisted. She wanted to disappear. Her teachers looked at her differently too, like they had already made up their minds. No one had asked her side. No one cared. Even her best friend Jasmine was quiet, unsure of what to say. Riley tried to get through the day, but it was like walking through a storm without an umbrella. After school, she sat alone in the back of the library, hiding. That's when her phone buzzed. A new message popped up. It was from someone anonymous. But the words were clear: "You ruined your mom's image. She'll never forgive you." Riley froze. Her hands trembled. This wasn't just bullying. It felt like someone was trying to destroy her completely. She felt sick. She shut off her phone and cried silently into her sleeve. She missed when life was simple, when her biggest worry was what outfit to wear or what grade she got on a quiz. Back at home, Kandi was finally ready to talk. She walked into Riley's room with a serious look. "We need to talk," she said quietly. Riley braced herself for yelling. But Kandi didn't yell. She sat on the edge of the bed and looked tired, worn down. "You didn't do anything wrong," Kandi finally said. "I know that now. I saw the full video. It was edited. Someone's trying to make you look bad." Riley's eyes widened. Relief rushed over her like a wave. "Then why didn't you say anything?" she asked. Kandi looked away. "Because I got scared. Scared of what people would say, scared of losing control, and scared that maybe I hadn't been protecting you like I should." Riley couldn't hold it in anymore. She fell into her mother's arms, sobbing. "I didn't want to disappoint you," she cried. "I didn't even know that picture existed until it went viral." Kandi hugged her tightly. "You didn't disappoint me. I'm disappointed in myself for not standing by you fast enough." But just as they began to rebuild the trust, another twist hit them. Kandi's manager called. A new post was spreading, one that accused Kandi of covering up Riley's behavior to protect her own brand. "They're saying I paid off a girl to stay quiet about the party," Kandi said in disbelief. "What? That's a lie," Riley exclaimed. Kandi nodded, but the damage was done. The media had picked it up. A local news outlet was preparing a full report. Their family name was being dragged through the mud. Kandi stood up, her expression fierce. "I stayed silent too long. It's time we speak out. Together." Riley wasn't sure she was ready to face the world again, but she nodded. If her mom believed in her, then maybe she could find her voice too. They would tell the truth. Even if no one believed them right away, they would fight for it. And as they sat down to draft their statement, Riley opened her phone once more. She scrolled past the hate, the rumors, the noise, and posted one thing on her story: "You only see what they want you to see. I'm ready to show you the truth." The likes came slowly at first, then faster. Messages started to pour in. A few still blamed her, but others said they believed her now. Some said they had been through the same thing. And for the first time in days, Riley felt a spark of hope. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning of her story. The night was long, but Kandi couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made her jump. Every passing car made her glance at her phone. Riley still hadn't returned. And for the first time, Kandi didn't feel angry, she felt helpless. Her daughter had shut her out. And maybe, just maybe, Kandi realized, she had helped build that wall. Riley sat in a dark room, away from her mom, away from the noise. Her friend's house was full of people, but inside her heart, it was quiet and heavy. The weight of everything, her mistakes, her secrets, her loneliness, it all crashed down at once. Her phone buzzed over and over, but she couldn't bring herself to respond. Not to her mom. Not yet. Back at home, Kandi was pacing. Then finally, her phone lit up with a message from Riley. "I'm okay. I just needed space." No location. No voice. Just a simple sentence that held so much pain. Kandi called immediately, but it went to voicemail. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Please come home." By morning, Riley walked into the house. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her eyes are puffy. Kandi froze when she saw her. Neither spoke. Then Riley said quietly, "I saw Dad yesterday." Kandi blinked. "What?" "He was with another family. A new baby. A wife. They looked perfect." Kandi stood silently. Tears pricked her eyes. "I just stood there, Ma," Riley continued. "He looked happy. He didn't even notice me. It was like I didn't exist." Kandi stepped closer. "Baby, I waited for years, thinking maybe he missed me. Maybe I mattered. But I was just a chapter in his old life. He's moved on." Kandi wanted to hold her, to wipe away her tears, but Riley took a step back. "I didn't tell you because I knew you'd be mad I went out. I had to see for myself. I needed the truth." Kandi's heart broke. She had fought so hard to protect Riley from hurt, but in doing so, Maybe she had ignored the hurt that was already inside. "I'm not mad," Kandi whispered. "I'm sorry." Riley finally met her mother's eyes. "I'm tired of pretending like I'm okay. I'm not. I needed a dad. I needed someone who didn't forget me." Kandi's voice cracked. "I know I can't fix that. I wish I could. But I'm here, Riley. I've always been here." Riley finally let her mom pull her into an embrace. The tears flowed. All the pain, the silence, the confusion, they poured out in that hug. Later that week, Kandi surprised Riley. She arranged a session with a therapist. Not just for Riley, but for both of them. "We're going to heal together," Kandi said. "No more secrets. No more hiding." Riley nodded. It wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, it felt possible. The final scene showed Riley writing in her journal. "I used to feel like I had no one. But I do. She may not be perfect, but she never left. And maybe that's enough." A soft smile crossed her face.